Okay, we'd like to talk tonight. We'd like to talk tonight about the concept of freedom of choice. Now, freedom of choice. We should know that the whole Jewish philosophy is based on the concept of freedom of choice. This is what distinguishes you from all the rest of the world, including the materialism, including the animals, including the angels. You are the only one beside God that can choose. And that's what makes you the image of God. When we say you are in the image of God, the way it comes into action, the way it reveals itself, it's through the freedom of choice. Now, let's think about some box, and let's assume there are millions of molecules here, and all are under some laws of nature. And I don't know how many molecules, and I don't know what are the laws of nature. It's a very complicated complex. But one thing I know, that laws of nature must behave precisely according to the laws. So therefore, if there is some stimulus here, some outcome should come here. And this box, nothing within it, can influence whatsoever what would happen. To a specific stimulus should come a specific outcome. Would you be just a box, bunch of molecules? I put some stimulus, I exert a stimulus on you. The stimulus can be that I drive you mad, or that I flatter you, or I seduce you, or I entice you. Whatever it is, according to the total complex, to this stimulus should come some kind of outcome. And you're totally not responsible for what you do. This totally contradicts our all basic understanding of the human being who is responsible for what he is doing. Why you're responsible? Because you're not forced to do. There is some stimulus, but some action, something very complicated happens in between, and the response is not automatic. And this process is the freedom of choice. Now, there is a famous book of Isaiah Berlin. Professor Isaiah Berlin is a famous English philosopher. 4 essays on freedom. And he has very serious confrontation with the philosophers of materialism, who tries to claim as if the whole world, this is just different forms of materials. He says, all right, you have the full right to think so, but one thing you cannot afford. To claim that the world is only materialism, at the same time to claim for morality. It doesn't go together. Morality means choice, and material cannot choose. So you cannot hold both sides of the stick at the same time. You say a materialist who is talking about morality is like an atheist who wants to swear in the name of God that he is right. This is impossible, because materialism and morality do not go together. Morality means you're responsible for what you do. That means you can choose. You are not forced to do that. And if you can choose, that means you are not a bunch of molecules. That means the outcome is not automatic. Now, not everybody is aware of this contradiction, because a lot of the secular society wants to hold the stick from both sides. They want to ignore the soul. They want to ignore the metaphysical realm. They want to deal only with evolution, just materialism and molecules and so on. And at the same time, they talk in terms of values. This is impossible. Now, this is a human being, and this is a machine. Now, I'd like to know if, under any circumstances, your behavior is predicted. Or, I'd say no, it's not predicted. I have a calculator. I push the button such and such, and the outcome is clear. Is it possible that, sometimes I do the same stimulus, push the same buttons, but the result is different? If this is so, the machine does not work. It's out of order. It's not reliable, right? But if it's totally predicted, right, then I say, okay, this machine is good. But regarding human beings, let's assume that his behavior is always predicted. That means he's forced to behave so. So really is out of order. That someone was charged at court, he stole. So they brought a psychologist testifying for him that he has kleptomania. He does not control it. He must. Right? So his behavior is totally predicted. Then he's out of order and he's not responsible. But if it's not predicted, that means he can choose. Then he is in order. This is the difference. A machine which is predicted is a good machine. A human being which is predicted is not a good human being. This is, you are able to choose. Now, if some people who know about quantum mechanics, so when we say that the outcome is known, well, regarding quantum mechanics, which is on the average and things like that, I don't want to go into details of that. And I want to understand a bit deeper how this freedom of choice, how does it work? Let's take a famous case. In philosophy, they describe the donkey who is between two piles of grass with exactly equal distance. And he has to decide which pile to go to. And he's not able to because the stimulus is just the same. So he dies out of anger. He stops. That's a very famous analogy. It means that they describe that you are motivated just by the strongest drive. And if they are totally equal, theoretically you should die. Now, let's assume one pile is closer. So that we say, all right, he's lazy, so you prefer the closer pile. Understand? Now let's assume that one pile is closer, but the other one is fresher. How would you decide then? A very simple example. I offer him a pile of grass, but there is real grass outside. Right? This is fresh, and this is just available. What would he prefer? We don't know, but how the mechanism would work. He would send a question to his memory banks. The computer analyzes the data and sends a question. And he goes to all his memories. What kind of pleasure, how much the pleasure was of laziness, and how much is worse because it's fresh. And he's balancing and making some calculation, and the computer gives where it's more important for me that the grass is fresh than the work, or vice versa. I don't know the specific donkey. Okay? Now let's move to ourselves. Let's assume I have to decide, should I go to a movie or should I go to a restaurant? What do? I send a question to my memory banks. And I recall all kind of pleasures which I used to have in a restaurant and in a movie. And there are some expectations, and I try to weigh them and balance them. So I said, look, in the movie, you're alone. You sit by yourself. No communication, no friends. So it's better to go to the restaurant. Yeah, but I eat so much, that I have to spend so much time after that on the diet, and it costs so much. And let's talk and talk. I'm bored of that. And if I'll go to the movie later on, I can tell my friends about excitement. Yeah, but enough of violence. But really, I would like to form some relationship. You see, I'm bouncing from the restaurant to the movie, blah, 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 blah. And I'm measuring, weighing all my memories and associations, and there is an outcome. So let's try to imitate. This would be the intensity, let's say, of the pleasure. And let's say it goes like that. So I measure it and I found that this is a restaurant, let's say, and this is a movie. So first of all, my computer has to sketch all the options and give values, what I expect to each of them. This is stage number 1. Stage number 2, my computer tells me follow the highest peak. Right? In this case, I would go to the movie. Okay? So this is the process. Again, stage number 1 is sketch all the expectations. Stage 2, follow the highest peak. Now, what would happen if the difference between them is not so big? Now, you should know that these things fluctuate. Let's say I might sit in the movie and all of a sudden I'm a bit bored. So now, you see, in the middle of the movie, this goes down. And then I'm frustrated. I should have gone to the restaurant, you see. So if the differences are not big enough, I'm in trouble. Because things fluctuate and I might be frustrated. So what do? In order to relax myself, to relieve myself out of the tension, I cheat myself. Cognitive dissonance. What do? I increase the discrepancy. I take this down and this up. So, stage number 2 was go to the highest peak. But after you prefer the highest peak, then the next stage, increase the discrepancy by your imagination. And then say, well, in the restaurant, it's terrible. I get sick of it, and so on. It's enough of that. You used to talk all this bunch of gossip, etc., and you put it down. And the movie, I'm sure there's some beautiful ideas, and whatever it is, I'll remember that for a long time, etc. And okay, so I increase the discrepancy, so therefore I feel better. So in order to avoid frustration, so even though I already preferred the highest peak, I increase the discrepancy. This is a healthy method. The healthy method is to cheat yourself towards the direction of increasing the discrepancy. What is the non-healthy direction? Is to go the other way, to be frustrated. Well, it's a shame. I should have gone to the restaurant. I'm sure I would enjoy it more. And some people, even though they already chose one way, all the time they eat themselves, I should have done the other thing. As long as it's just a restaurant, maybe. But once he gets married, he says, well, I should have got married with the other guy. Then he's in trouble, But some people really, even though they choose, they don't know to deal with that. And all the time eat themselves. I should have done the other side. But really we're given a very healthy mechanism to cheat ourselves, to increase the discrepancy. Now, this is not fully cheating because the first stage is really to measure accurately the discrepancy. And I really follow the highest peak. Only after that, to feel better, I increase. But I don't do it originally. First, I do scientifically the right measurement. But later on, I increase the discrepancy. This gut feeling is included, believe me. There are many associations that you just don't know to verbalize. That's what we call gut feeling. You just don't know to verbalize, but it's there. No, because in order not to be frustrated, because I'm scared, my brain protects me from being frustrated. So it increases. I just tell you the way your mind works. No, you don't understand. Let's assume you chose already. You are in the middle of the movie. You cannot go now in the middle of the movie to the restaurant. But you can be frustrated in the middle of the movie. together, but I'm talking about the automatic mechanism. So my mind, in order to prevent, in order to